Very good afternoon. Welcome.
The Vadhani Advantage Program, helping small businesses grow. Do these questions keep you up at night? How can I grow my revenues? Should I look at new products? Need a good lawyer or an accountant? Who can help me with funding? Vadhani Advantage can help. How do we do it? The Vadhani Advantage program provides access to a complete ecosystem of partners to help SMEs like you grow. From finding a good accountant to helping you get a working capital loan, or finding new customers, or even charting out your strategy to expand globally, we have it all covered. The Vadhani Advantage team and its vast network puts their rich knowledge and experience at your disposal in the form of content assets that include do-it-yourself guides for quick impact, self-assessment tools, videos, case studies, and more. And all this is available for free to all Vadhani Advantage program members for life. In addition, we are available to help you chalk out a personalized transformation growth plan that puts you on a hyper growth path. Vadhani Foundation is a non-profit organization started by Dr. Ramesh Vadhani, a Silicon Valley-based billionaire. We are currently present in 22 countries around the world. We do not charge for any of our services or for our platform. Service providers on our platform are all reliable and charge reasonable rates for their services. All we want from you is an investment of your time and a commitment to achieve hypergrowth in your business. The Vadhani Advantage program provides you access to verified business services and lead generation platforms. We also give you access to unlimited tools and do-it-yourself guides to help you streamline and grow your business. You also get access to the Vadhani Advantage transformation team for personalized support for your business. So what are you waiting for? Join the Vadhani Advantage program and help your business soar.
A very good afternoon to all the attendees today. This is our 22nd webinar on from small enterprise. So we would like to thank each and everyone who has joined today's session. We have 4 eminent speakers from the domain and who would be able to explain about the seriousness of the cybersecurity threats and what are the ways to counter it and what small business need to understand or take in control when they address this issue. So the topic on today's webinar is about cybersecurity for small business, but we have put it in a twist or a different topic, stating that you are really strong as your weakest link. It's the strength of a chain. It's all limited to that of the weakest link of the chain. So if your business is, leaking out somewhere or is weak somewhere, that is where you need to make sure you find that leakage, where it is, and completely stop the leakage and take the business forward. So this happens in every wake of a life, but especially when you're talking about your business, which we are concerned about, small business today, cybersecurity is one of the major threat for the mankind, actually. The businesses across the world runs on technology today, especially after the pandemic, and so it is going to affect every businesses unless and until you know how to tackle this. Being a more technological aspect, most of the SMEs are not aware of tackling this. We were discussing with our speakers and I was explaining to them. They were asking me about the kind of audience today and what cybersecurity means for them. So most of them think that antivirus will solve the issue. but it's much beyond that. It's much, much beyond that. So today's session will be interesting topics that the speakers are going to talk about, various aspects of cybersecurity and how to manage your office, your employees. Nowadays, hackers are not targeting the machines alone. They target the weakest link in your organization. They get through the employees and hack the data, and there are many ways of for a hacker to get information out of your company. It's not just the machines alone. So how do you tackle this? How do you know who is the weakest link in your organization? Extremely tough, extremely tough. So there are ways to counter that. There are ways to ensure that this has been taken care and manage your business forward. Yes, coronavirus is one of the most devastating epidemics that human race has ever witnessed in modern day. That has prompted businesses to go online. Today, 95% of the businesses are doing online business. So easy, access more opportunities, reach out people. Business is not limited to a certain geography. It is worldwide. The business goes worldwide, but comes threat on your business, which is cybersecurity, that is cybercrime, all this matters. So we are going to discuss about that today. It begins with digital security and best practices, education and training for employees as well. The investment that you make in today's technology will definitely help you in tomorrow's growth of your business. Educating employees is one of the most important tasks that any entrepreneur should be looking at. They should also be aware. They should also get educated on how to manage the business, how to be well informed. So that's what we are here for. So small enterprise being last 11 years in this market. So I will take you through a quick presentation. What do you do and why we are doing this? So before starting the whole session, I would like to take you through a quick PowerPoint presentation and introduce our eminent, speakers today. So give me a minute. So hope you can see this. So can we see this, Rahul?
No.
Okay, I'll just close
that. Now it's
okay. Thank you. So yeah. So we have our speakers today. Advocate Radhika Verma. She is the president of Haryana Cybersecurity Council. We have Mr. Vijay Banda, who is the director of cybersecurity at Qualcomm. We have Ms. Rajeshwari Bhattacharya. She is a partner strategy and business at Persevere. And we have Mr. Aman Chikara, Chief Operating Officer and CISO at Arishti Ninja. All of them are, cybersecurity experts, and they have been working in the industry for last many years. So we are lucky to get them today. Just quickly taking you through today's agenda. The first session is going to be by Advocate Radhika Verma. She's going to talk about cybersecurity, the need of the hour perspective, followed by Mr. Vijay Banda, who is the director at the Qualcomm Cybersecurity. He's going to talk about building, running, and managing healthy cybersecurity organization and practices. We will have Ms. Rajeshwari Bhattacharya, who is going to talk about building and procuring a secure IT system. Last is Mr. Aman Chikara, who is going to talk about cybersecurity tips for allowing employees to work from home. Now, we all are working from home. Most of the whole world is working from home. Yeah, but 8 months, people are missing office. There's a slow comeback. But then it's going to be a mix of, working from home and office. So how do you manage to work from home? How small business can manage or control their employees and make them productive while working from home, and also take care of the risk while working from home. So these are the aspects that they are going to discuss today. I would like to thank our partners, Wadhwani Foundation, Dainik Bhaskar, TAI Coimbatore, Kerala Startup Mission, SME Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Power to SME, Reva University, Electronic Cities Industry Association, War India, which is an IT channel magazine, and Ceramic Standard, which is one of the industry publications. Quickly, I'll just introduce our platform, Small Enterprise, Aspire Media, why we are doing this, and what gives us the thrill of educating SMEs in a present scenario where most of the businesses are focused on commercial, activities to generate revenue. We are not only here to generate revenue, but here to help SMEs make them informed decision makers and help their business grow. So we have about 58.5 or close to 60 million SMEs in India. If we educate them, which is, humanly impossible, physically impossible. I mean, it's a tough situation, but we have to start somewhere, and we are committed for that. So keeping such a concept in mind, we started in 2009. In 2010, we launched the flagship portal of Aspire Media called Small Enterprise. Small Enterprise is a platform for small and medium businesses to learn about their daily business essentials, whether it's banking and finance, or marketing, or technology, or logistics, or HR, or any aspect of their business. They can log into a site, get to the specific topics, and read and learn. But we also realized back in 2010 that SMEs are not those who are going to log into a site and learn, how to do business. They need handholding. So we decided to go to each and every city, conduct a half-day session, bring about 150, 200 SMEs and educate them. This was a welcoming move, and we were also being even motivated. Every city we go, we see a house full, and we used to do in all class hotels, so they also don't mind coming to attend such conferences in these cities. Various subjects, we have experts across all domains coming and speaking on our platform. SMEs would love to interact with them. It was a fantastic session that everyone tried to learn, and we were quite happy. And we have our partners joining us. Yeah. So after about 8-9 years, we have changed our website, made it more interactive, more feel good factor, easy to navigate. All these aspects have been put into our website called Small Enterprise, and now it is getting up very well. We're getting lots of viewers every day, and things are going well. We have a newsletter which 1.5 lakh SME newsletter subscribers. We have newsly weekly letters which reaching out to them. We have many brands who are working with us who would like to address SMEs, and we associate with them and we take our business forward. And one aspect of our core interest area, as I mentioned earlier, is to help SMEs. So how do we help SMEs? Not only the kind of portal and subject and the magazine that we come out monthly or the newsletter. We have a panel of experts. We have about 30 plus experts, domain experts now. Yes, they are expert panel. We call them gurus. So we have a platform called Ask Guru. Any SME who want to ask a question which is related to his or her business can ask a question and it will be answered within 24 hours. Free, no charges, nothing. So we would like to help any businesses, any query, whether it is legal, technology, logistics, marketing, HR, banking and finance, anything, let it be. So they can come and ask a question. They can log onto a site, ask a question, 24 hours, you get the answer. Now, you want to know who our experts are? You can go to Meet Guru page and you can check out their profiles. There's a detailed profile and their expertise mentioned alongside. So the reason is we might be slowly coming out with a one-on-one session where you can go on to that request a session when they are free. They can block the calendar and ask face-to-face questions. So that portion we are working on, and probably we should be doing it in 2020, first quarter probably. So I mean, you can see the same experts details on our site. So I just want to explain the same thing to you. Magazine, yes, we launched our magazine in 2012, a monthly magazine. Now, this magazine is not a business magazine. It's an educational magazine for SMEs. We talk about various subjects every month. If you are talking about banking and finance today, this month, the next issue is going to be technology for small business, and More than 50% of the publication carry the cover story. So in-depth coverage on each and every aspect where an SME can learn, their business essentials more or less in detail. So that is why our magazines are now subscribed to most of the IITs, IIMs, Symbiosis Institutes, SPJs, EDI, and Ahmedabad. Most of the educational institutes, wherever they have an entrepreneurship course, they subscribe a magazine to keep it in their library. We're happy to do that. On top of it, we definitely give this digital edition absolutely free of cost to all our attendees. So the November issue on cybersecurity will be given free. A digital copy will be free for all the participants today. After the session, we will be mailing them the digital editions to that. Our magazines, our target audience are across India, urban, rural markets, villages. We have a lot of SMEs who subscribe our magazine, whether it's online, digital version or the print version. The magazine cover story more or less look like this. If it is a technology, it's going to be something related to technology, and the design, everything changes accordingly. We have women in business, we have marketing, we have banking and finance, logistics, small to big, how to grow from small to big. There are some issues that we cover about awards where we recognize SMEs and startups, and also future workplace, how to manage your workplace and how to retain talent by creating one fantastic office. You don't need to be a Google to spend crores of rupees on your office. With very minimal budget, keep your office most interesting and create a culture where you can retain talent and that can help your business grow. So these are the various cover stories that we have, and we have a calendar for the year. Every month we have certain cover stories that we cover. So our magazines also available on Geo News now. Geo News is working very closely with us. That's the Geo mobile platform. Every Geo subscriber will get an access to a magazine every month. We are talking about 250 million Prime subscribers of Geo, plus the Maxter, which is the largest online platform, magazine platform in India, which that's purely on subscription basis. But on Geo, it is absolutely free for Geo Prime users. Editorial calendar, I've just mentioned that every month it is talking about various topics, completely different from a business magazine where they talk about the political gossips and they present. Everyone knows about it. You don't need to really subscribe a magazine, but then yes, it's a whole habit. They subscribe a magazine. But small enterprise cater completely to the small business. They educate. So that's a difference. So our magazines are considered as a collectible. So that's the difference. We also have a consulting division headed by ex-KPMG. So here we help SMEs consult their business. If they have an issue in their business, they can reach out to us at a very nominal fee, and we have the domain experts who help them solve their issues with a very minimal cost. So that is another arm that we are extending to help SMEs and also startups. We have a startup platform called the Aeonian, which is a Greek name meaning unstoppable. So this was done in association with Deloitte, and back in 2018, we created this platform for startups, which we also have pitch sessions and awards along with the SMEs. So thank you for listening to us. So we'll just quickly enter the first session for today. I will welcome Advocate Radhika Verma. I'll just quickly introduce her to you. Advocate Radhika Verma is the State President of Haryana Cybersecurity Council. Also, she is part of Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We call it as WICI. So she has earned her LLB from Campus Law Center, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. She holds additional degree of CS and accredited certification in white-collar crimes, ADR laws, aviation laws, and cyber laws. Currently practicing in the areas of RERA, matrimonial disputes, cyber crimes, consumer cases, etc. Radhika also holds honorary post of State President of Haryana Cybersecurity Council, which I mentioned. She is working on various cyber laws awareness programs, research work, policy framing, along with a team of 20 council members working under the execution and assistance of under her assistance. She has spoken on several webinars and panel discussions on a myriad of significant leadership topics. So today's topic, what is going to be for Radhika, she is going to talk about cybersecurity, the need of the hour, perspective. So let's welcome Advocate Radhika. Over to you, Radhika.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Aspire Media for organizing this session, which is based on a very, very significant topic and one of the most sought after topic these days, that is cybersecurity. So today I'm going to talk about cybersecurity need of the hour. So why it is need of the hour, that we are going to discuss. So before moving ahead in the session, I would like to discuss, and we should understand what cybersecurity is. What is cybersecurity? So let me tell you that cybersecurity is protecting cyberspace, including critical information infrastructure, from any sort of unauthorized access, attack, damage, misuse, and economic espionage. So this is what we call cybersecurity. Then I would like to discuss the definition of cyber attack. What is cyber attack? Cyber attack, it is a malicious and deliberate attempt by an individual or organization to breach the information system of another individual or organization. Now, after discussing the definitions, I would like to talk about what are the underlying principles of cybersecurity. What are the core principles of cybersecurity? First of all, we have confidentiality, then we have integrity, then we have availability. So now what is confidentiality? I would like to say that confidentiality, information is sensitive and confidential. Whatever information is sensitive and confidential, it should be protected. It should be preserved properly so that it may not get leaked out. So the cybersecurity focuses on that angle. It focuses on the angle of focuses on the angle of confidentiality. That information, it should be shared with appropriate users only. It should not have access to every person, every random person. So this is the thing. Then we have integrity. This is the principle of cybersecurity. Information, any sort of information, it should retain its integrity. And it should not, there should not be a material alteration in that kind of information. And there should not, and there should be no authority or leverage to any other person to change it. They cannot change it without prior permission. So there should not be a material alteration. And there should be availability. That is the third principle. Information and systems must be available to those who need it. And it means it is available only, it should be available only to authorized users. It should not be available to, world at large or public at large. So it should be, the access should be restricted. These are the three core principles of cybersecurity. Now, let us discuss about what kind of cyber attacks are there. Cyber attacks such as malware. You all must have heard about malware attack. I would also like to discuss one of the case here, which was a very famous case, that is WannaCry. WannaCry, it was a ransomware attack that spread rapidly in May 2017. The ransomware locked users' devices and prevented them from accessing data and software until a certain ransom was paid to the criminals. And this was, it created a lot of buzz around this WannaCry attack, and top 5 cities in India which were badly impacted because of this this attack, that was Kolkata, Delhi, Bhubaneswar, Pune, Mumbai. So these are the cities which got badly impacted because of this. Now we were discussing about malware. That is, what is malware attack? That is malicious, it's a case when malicious software refers to any kind of software that is designed to cause damage to a single computer, server, or computer network. Ransomware, spyware, worms, viruses, and trojans, they all are varieties of malware. As we discussed the case of WannaCry. So WannaCry, it was based on ransomware. So it is about that only. Then we have another sort of attack which is mounting up these days is phishing. It is the method of what is phishing? It is a method of trying to gather personal information using deceptive emails and websites. This is what we call phishing. Then we have denial of service attacks. What is denial of service attacks? Denial of service attacks is an attack which is meant to shut down a machine or network, making it inaccessible to its intended users. Then we have man in the middle attacks. It sounds very unique sort of attack. What is man in the middle attacks? It is also known as eavesdropping attacks. It occurs when attackers insert themselves into a two-party transaction. Once the attacker interrupted the traffic, they can filter and steal the data. So it is, more or less related to stealing of your personal data. Then we have SQL injection. What is SQL injection? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. And it is a programming language used to communicate with databases. Many of the servers that store critical data for websites and services use SQL to manage the data in their databases. Then we have cross-site scripting. It is, it is similar to SQL injection attack. This attack also involves injecting malicious code into a website. For example, you are visiting some XYZ website. So these kind of cross-site scripting, these kind of attacks, they inject malicious code into their website. But in this case, the website itself is not being attacked. So website is not being attacked, the user, let's say I'm using it. So it is going to impact my usage. That malicious code the attacker has injected only runs in the user's browser. It means, let's say I'm using it. So it will only affect my browser when I visit the that website, and it goes after the visitor directly, not the website. It is not going to impact the website. It is going to impact the user of that website. Then we have social engineering. What is social engineering? It is an attack that relies on human interaction to trick users into breaking security procedures in order to gain sensitive information that is typically protected. So it is going to impact your sensitive information, which is stored in your PC, your desktop, your laptops. So we have these kind of multiple cyber attacks which are mounting up day by day. And why our country is that much vulnerable? Because we are so much vulnerable, we do not have any dedicated structure. We do not have any dedicated legislation to deal with cybersecurity. We do not have rigorous cybersecurity measures. Our cybersecurity resilience, it is not that strong as of now. Technically, we are not that sound. So that's why I would say that India is a little vulnerable from that point of view, from that aspect. And now I would like to say that why cybersecurity is needed. Why it is needed? It is, as we all have seen, the entire world has seen a paradigm shift in working and functioning of various organizations, be it a big organization, be it a small organization. During this pandemic, everything is going virtual. Board meetings are happening virtually, interviews are happening virtually, and critical discussions, important discussions, the panel discussions. Right now, we all are having panel discussions, so we are doing it virtually. Had there been no pandemic, then we might have it in a way of seminar, or we might have it in a way of physical conference. But we are having it virtually because of this current pandemic situation. So now everything is going online, everything is going virtual. So don't you think so there should be a strong and robust or systematic thing to protect your information? Because if that information gets leaked out, then it may, obviously it is going to make impact, an organization, it may lose its reputation, it may tarnish your image, or it may affect your integrity also. For any organization, reputation is of paramount importance. So if your important information is leaked out, because nowadays what happens, we people, they do store information, important information, either on their mobile phones or in their laptops, PC, because we don't want to memorize, and it's not possible also, it's not realistically possible to memorize everything. So that's why we store every confidential information and every I would say sensitive information. We can find it in our phones, or we can find it in our laptops or PCs. So there should be a proper system to protect and preserve such information. In fact, small businesses, they should start investing more in those kind of cybersecurity measures which can protect their data, which can protect their important and sensitive information. They should use those kind of softwares which prevent these kind of cyber attacks. So this is about that. And then other thing is that we have, why we it's not only about individual security nowadays. Cyber security, now it has become a concern at national level. Now it has become a matter of national security also. So the idea is, having a robust cybersecurity framework, it is imperative not only at individual level, not only at organizational level, but at national level as well. Otherwise, important information of country, it might leak out, and it may expose country to heavy economical losses. Other nations might take advantage of that sensitive information. So are you understanding that it is not, now we cannot restrict this cybersecurity thing to SMEs or big enterprises. Now it has become a concern at national level. So we need to understand this thing. So that's why it is always advisable to have rigorous cybersecurity measures. Currently, we have IT Act, we have provisions in IPC, we have national cybersecurity policies, but I don't think so that these measures are adequate. Much more stratified and much more systematic approach is required to deal with the current scenario. And after pandemic, after this, when lockdown was imposed, I think now it has become even more important to deal with these kind of threats, because these kind of attacks, these kind of cyber threats, they have I've seen surge in the number of cases during this phase only, this phase of pandemic. So these cases are mounting up day by day. Why they are mounting up day by day? Because the current structure, the current legislative structure is not adequate to deal with this situation. Then the other aspect why cybersecurity is needed is, there is rising importance of digital economy. In fact, the ruling government or previous governments, time and again, they have been focusing on and they have been emphasizing on digital economy. Like we had demonetization in the past. At that time also, government emphasized that people should go digital. Transactions, all the transactions should happen online. So, slowly and gradually we are heading towards digital economy. So earlier we had demonetization thing. Now we have pandemic thing, which is going on, which has impacted millions and zillions of industries. Almost every sector, be it a real estate sector, be it a telecom sector, be it a healthcare sector, almost every sector has got badly impacted because of that pandemic. So that's why since this scenario of digital economy, it is creating a lot of buzz, then for that purpose, there is a need of cybersecurity measures, strong measures for cybersecurity. Then it is very important for preservation of data. So why cybersecurity is needed? Because it is very important for preservation of data. Whatever is being stored in your laptop or mobile phones, it needs to be preserved, it needs to be secured. What is the security of that data? It might get leaked out. Sometimes, even in our emails also, we do receive some links. And it is my advice to all the participants here not to click on any sort of unauthenticated and unverified link, because the moment you click on those links, your personal details might get leaked out and you may have to face economical losses. As these days I have seen KYC frauds are happening. Some other random person, he might approach you and he might impersonate as some XYZ official of e-wallet company, e-wallet service providers, and they can ask you to give your confidential details like OTP, password, CVC, XYZ things on the pretext of KYC updation. So you have to take care of all these things. You have to be a little cautious while sharing your sensitive or confidential details with third person, because bank is never going to, they will not ask you about OTP and all. So these are the small things which need to be taken care of. And governments are also these days, they are also focusing and emphasizing on this thing. They are in fact, recently in one of the interview, our national security advisor, he also said that very soon government is coming up with national cybersecurity 2020. That's what he said. So government is also taking different measures. Government is adopting different measures to protect this thing, to mitigate cyber crimes. I would like to quote some of them, that what measures in the past or in the present current government has taken to protect this entire system or towards this cyber security thing. Yeah, so here we have, so the most important one is, that is National Cyber Security Coordination Center, NCCC. It was established in 2017, and its mandate is to scan internet traffic and communication metadata coming into the country to detect real-time cyber threats. And if you want to know that what exactly is National Cyber Security Coordination Center, it is it is Operational Cyber Security and E-Surveillance Agency of India. Its components includes to frame cyber crime prevention strategy, to impart cybercrime investigation training, to review outdated laws, to review outdated laws. As I talked that I earlier also said that we have IT Act, we have provisions in IPC, we have National Cyber Policy 2013 to deal with such crimes or cyber threats. But see, law is a very dynamic field, so we have to go as per the current scenario. Frequent amendments, frequent reforms are required to deal with the current scenario. And we have CEERT also, that is Cyber Emergency Response Team. It is acting as a nodal agency. It is being set up under Section 70B of IT Act. So yes, so now I would like to say that what are the other measures apart from NCCC which government has taken to promote cyber security. Then we have Cyber Surakshit Bharat initiative, which is taken by the government. It was launched in 2018 with an aim to spread awareness about cyber crime and building capacity for safety measures for chief information security officers and frontline IT staff across all government departments. So it's a very, very good initiative. Then we have Cyber Swachhta Kendra. You all must have heard about it a lot. In 2017, this platform was introduced for internet users, for all the internet users to clean their computers and devices by wiping out viruses and malware, as we talked about malware in the previous discussion. And then we have training was given to several persons through 52 institutions under the Information Security Education and Awareness Project, that is ISEA, a project to raise awareness and to provide research, education and training in the field of information security. So training, as far as training is concerned, I also believe that enter these kind of business enterprises, they should provide cybersecurity training to their employees. This kind of cybersecurity trainings, they should be integral, it should be an integral part of their entire training structure. If you are giving training to your employees, then cybersecurity training should be a part of it. It should be an important part of it. Because I personally feel that we do not have trained cybersecurity specialists in our country. That flair and that proficiency is somewhere missing and lacking. So we need more trainings. We need more awareness. Social media awareness can be done. It can help. It can help a lot. These kind of panel discussions, it can help a lot. So, these are few things which can actually work in this case, which can actually reform the situation. And, as far as the international angle is concerned, on international level also several things are happening to deal with cybersecurity, to deal with, to tackle cyber crimes. I would like to shed some light on that also. On international level, and on international level, I would say that we have Global Cybersecurity Index. Yes, this index, it is being prepared by ITU, that is International Telecommunication Unit. It is international body, and it measures the preparedness of countries. This index, it is being released every year. It measures the preparedness of countries, that which country is prepared to deal with cyber crime, cyber threats, which company is strong for cyber security, which country has strong cyber security measures. So as of now, it is of 2017-18 data which is available with me. We can have a fair and decent idea about which countries are doing well as far as cyber security measures are concerned. So as per this list, Singapore is on the top. So Singapore, then we have United States, we have Malaysia, we have Oman, we have Estonia after that, then we have Mauritius, then we have Australia, Georgia, France, and Canada. So India is nowhere in this list. So we need to work a lot on this. So many reforms are required. We can take an idea from other countries as well, that what kind of measures have been adopted by them, how they are tackling with these kind of crimes. And we have one more index. We have one more index, that is National Cybersecurity Index. It is also a global index. And according to this index, it is of 2020. The data which is available, that is of 2020. As per this index, Greece has topped. Greece has topped as far as strong cybersecurity measures are concerned. Then on third number we have Estonia, and in this list, India is on 35th rank. So in order to reach, or in order to make it to top 10, we actually have to work hard, and we have to incorporate rigorous cybersecurity measures. We have to enact strong legislations to deal with all these kind of situations, to mitigate these kind of crimes. And I would advise all the business organizations and SMEs that they should have a secure networks. They should actually fix responsibility. They should fix accountability on the employees. There should be a restricted access of information within the organization, that only these people can have access. And in case that information gets leaked out, then that person should be accountable for that. There should be a sense of accountability, a sense of responsibility in the employees. They should invest more on cybersecurity measures. They should purchase softwares which are good for protecting your information, the sensitive, the confidential data which is being stored on your systems. So these are the things these are the things which are actually very important from cybersecurity point of view. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Advocate Radhika Verma. Really appreciate it. It was a very, very informative session. Actually, this is the language that we need for SMEs. Very simple, easy to understand. Leave out the jargon so that they could register things in their mind and probably come back to you and ask some questions later on. So we will definitely connect you to our community so that anyone who wants to ask any questions. So I think you'll be more than happy to welcome them and answer their questions. So thank you very much. So I would like to introduce now our next speaker, Mr. Vijay Banda. He's the Director Cybersecurity at Qualcomm. Mr. Vijay comes over with about 25 plus years of experience, out of which 13 years he's been in the US. Rich, insightful years of experience with a progressive career in information technology, working at various Fortune 100 clients across the globe, covering government, state, healthcare, auto, pharmaceuticals, telecom, retail verticals, and touching end-to-end solutions. In his previous role at Deloitte, he was responsible for both global technology infrastructure and global cybersecurity. India delivery teams consisting of 200 plus people. Solid knowledge in information security management, with experience in business continuity and disaster recovery management, IT and security risk management, and compliance and assurance, with experience and involvement in all phases of information security lifecycle, from strategy and planning to operation and governance of information security management systems. So he has got in-depth knowledge in security, cloud, and Oracle technologies. He's going to talk about building, running, and managing healthy cybersecurity organization and practices. So let's welcome Mr. Vijay Banda. Mr. Vijay, over to you. You're on mute, Vijay. You're on mute.
Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen, everybody.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, let's rock and roll. Hey, namaskaram andarki, and sorry, and so I'm from Andhra Pradesh, so I have to greet you in the local language. So privileged to be here. Thank you, Aspire Media, and thank you for the opportunity. It looks like very, very insightful topic for the right audience. So again, congratulations to you and also my peers, Radhika. Very nice meeting you. Nice session. A lot of information about laws and best practices. Look forward to interacting with you more and other colleagues on this call. So thank you. So I'm going to go in very primitive, little more lower order. So excuse me. Maybe I'll go into kindergarten here a little bit. Okay. So first of all, we all need to understand that we are in the middle of a technological revolution called the fourth industrial revolution. Okay. So pretty much we are heading to a place where wearables are going to be the common technology, in the future, that is going to connect our physical, digital, and biological footprints together, right? So pretty much, if I give you an example, every year during, let's say, during the flu season or during the allergy season, Alexa will notify you. It will know that you are, every year, this time of the year, you basically get a lot of sneezes and you get a lot of, allergies as a result. So Alexa will say, time to book your doctor's appointment. And it will go and dial the doctor's appointment for you. And it will book the doctor's appointment. And it will share your health data, including the latest BP and other data to the doctor already. So by the time you arrive at the doctor already saw your data and ready to provide you with the prognosis, which automatically orders the prescription. And the prescription, by the time you're home, the prescription is actually at your home, or by the evening the prescription drugs are at your home. And guess what? The car that is driving you also knows all the things. It knows where the hospital is, where the petrol bunk is. So the world is going to be a lot more digitalized, right? Everything is going to be digitalized. People can track you with your GPRS. Everything is going to be so much as a mesh, not a mess, but mesh, M-E-S-H, right? So recognize that we are in the middle of the biggest industrial revolution called the Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? Some of the emerging technology trends you might have heard. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. I think the simplest way to describe AI is our robo movie Rajnikant, the Chitti guy, the famous actor, how he actually reads a book by just looking at it, how he automatically self-discovers himself by feeding data into him. Then we're talking about Internet of Things. I just explained to you. Everything is going to be connected, right? Your wearables to your machine, to your computer, right? Everything that you go, that's how the digital world is going to be. There's going to be a parallel universe that we're creating through the digital footprint of us, right? A lot of people, we are able to connect today because of the digital, technology that has actually made us do this. So there are other technologies like VR and AR. If some of you might have shopped in IKEA, we have a big IKEA shop in Hyderabad. If you want to order a furniture, the AR, the augmented reality, can actually show you what kind of a designs can match your background of the walls, right? So that is called augmented reality. Even virtual reality, your children can stay home and enjoy the session of a Jew in the future. And then you have Bitcoin, you have 3D printing, you can print your favorite toy in your favorite color at home, right? You can manufacture it. And then blockchain is coming up, especially in India with Google Pay, Paytm. Every transaction, let's say you sell a property, you want to make sure the veracity of the property is maintained, right? Especially today in India, there's a lot of loopholes today with the property sale and buying. I'm just giving an example with due respect. So blockchain is another big one that is ensuring the veracity of a transaction. And then big data, right? So with all this thing, the one thing that is going to keep this all together is cybersecurity, right? Your digital footprint, okay, and then your biological footprint, physical footprint, the underlying engine that actually can protect your identity and take care of your privacy and other things and your customers is cybersecurity. So let's explore a little bit about cybersecurity. Going back to the LKG of cybersecurity, cybersecurity is all about binary format. It's all about zeros and one, guys. So we have to really thank our great ancestor Aryabhatta, right, who discovered zero, right, without which we wouldn't have even understood the essence of what is a 10 is, right? So it's all about the data that I'm talking to you now over Zoom or over this particular session. It is getting translated into zeros and ones to you, and it's going to getting again de-encapsulated, and you're seeing me as my picture, right? Imagine Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, the WhatsApp that we're using, the emails that you're sending, right? So everything is pretty much in a digital format that is actually flooding our entire digital Ethernet. The digital highways, the broadband highways are much more busier nowadays than the actual highways in Hyderabad, thanks to work from home, right? But important point here we understand here is the zeros and ones are nothing but data. Okay, data. Everything is data. In the digital world, your Facebook account is a data. Your company profile is a data point. Your Gmail account is a data point. Your Netflix usage is a data point. Your Amazon sale is a data point, right? So there are multiple, there are multiple data points of data, and each data has 3 explicit states. And this is a very, very important point that even Radhika was touching previously, right? One is data at rest, data in transit or data in motion, and data in usage, right? It's very important for all of us to understand as a custodian of a data. Let's say you are a small and medium scale enterprise, you are selling products to your clients, books, or you manufacturing material, clothes, anything. You have to make sure all the 3 states of this data is well protected. Data at rest, data in motion, and data in use. And as a SME, you are accountable legally to do this. Legally, you are accountable to make sure that you are not accidentally disclosing customers' data. Remember what happened to Big Basket recently. There's a big fraud came out. The customer data is actually got exposed. So whoever ordered orders in Big Basket, the customer data got revealed. And they end up, the customers can go into a civil suit there, or even a criminal suit, some cases, and Radhika can explain you how big process that is to come out of it, right? So the 3 states of data is very, very important. Data is going to be the new currency of the future, not the oil, guys. We used to fight for oil in the past, right? The future is all about data, right? Let me give you some very good, some basic examples of data at rest. Data at rest is what? The data stored on your laptops, the data stored in USBs, the data stored in mobile devices, the data printed through your printers, right? And the data is available on the cloud providers, other things. It's at rest or on a tape device, right? Data in transit. For example, I sent an email to you to Aspire Media, right? The email that is getting transformed from me to Aspire Media, when it goes through the network, it actually, as I told you, it goes through multiple, it goes to application layer, transport layer, sessions layer. So it goes to a 7 steps of, encapsulation and decapsulation, right? In terms of, into bits, it goes from data to bits and bytes, right? So that is a transformation, the transition of data into through our broadband. And data in use, when you're sending money to Google Pay, when you're clicking on something within the application, that is data in use. So remember, all these 3 aspects are very important for us to protect. I want to just give you, when you're talking about data, you have to talk about all these 3 aspects, even let's say before the event, after the event. Let's say even if the application is dead, I have to make sure that I'm keeping the data in US for 7 years. In US, the law of keeping the old data is archive data is for 7 years legally, because IRS works once in 7 years. So again, these are the important point. So, okay. So what is so great about data, right? How do we protect this data, right? So how do we understand the value of the data is what the essence of it, right? There are 3 aspects, the CIA, right? It's an easy word to remember. CIA, Radhika spoke briefly about this: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? Simple examples, I won't take a lot of time. Let's say your son's teacher or your daughter's teacher want to send marks of your daughter. Nowadays, digital economy, right? So she needs to only send it to you, not to your son or a daughter. So it's called need to know. Your employee doesn't need to know the salary of the manager. The manager can see the salary of the employee, but the employee doesn't have to see the salary of the manager. That is called confidentiality. Only on a need to know basis, right? That the data is shared. So Prime Minister can see only certain amount of data, and his associates can see based on the access they have given, the clearance they have given. So that is the number 1 thing about confidentiality is only people that are supposed to see the data will be restricted to see the data, will be restricted to see the data is called confidentiality. Second one is integrity of the data. It's a very, very important thing with all the scams happening today. The integrity of the data is what getting happened. Let's say I send an email to Aspire Media as Vijay Banda. In between, somebody sniffed into my network. They spoofed Vijay Banda with a Vijaya Banda or something, right? And send another email to Aspire Media spoofing as me because they put a man in the middle attack. And spoofed as me, then automatically, Aspire Media thinks it's the same person, and and they might have given, sent some wrong documents to the other person. And this happens a lot with invoicing. This happens a lot with procurement to pay applications where the man in the middle comes and spoofs. So the integrity of the data is what? If I am sending 100 MB of data from source A to 100 MB of data to source B, the data has to be intact. The same 100 MB. The veracity of the data has to be maintained as it goes through the tunnel of the network, and whether it is in any state, data in use, data at rest, or data at transit, the integrity of the data has to be maintained, right? And also the most important thing is the sender should also know that you are the one send the data, right? Anybody can say, nowadays Amazon saying, okay, once the order comes, please give me your OTP. That is how that verifies that you are the right sender to receive it. And you also can verify that Amazon is the right seller to send it to you, right? So integrity is a very, very important aspect. A lot of times, because of this only, a lot of attacks are happening. both confidentiality and integrated. Availability is another one. Availability is making sure all the phases of data is available all the time. Imagine you go to Gmail or a bank website, everywhere you are actually know that this is available. Right? If it's not available, the data is of no good. So again, simple differentiation between information security and cyber security. Information security and cyber, the major difference is cyber security is all about electronic form of data. Electronic form of data. Information security is all the data, right? Whether it is in physical form, folders at home, you have papers of your property, all those things. That's called information security. But cyber security is the electronic media. Okay, and then naturally, when there is an electronic media, there's so many attacks, different attacks. So I'm not going to go through all this. A lot of times, nowadays the biggest attack is ransomware attack. So suddenly one day you come to your laptop, you try to open the laptop, you get this nice message saying your machine is locked. And this happened to the UK hospital system. Entire hospital machine network is down. And everybody is getting this funny message, ha ha ha, please pay us 250 bitcoins for us to give you the key to unlock your systems, right? And then they have to pay the person. That's like pretty much they have to pay. There's no other choice because they actually encrypted your entire system end to end with a software that the key of decryption is only lies with them, right? So that's called ransomware attack. Nowadays, and why it happens? Because I will explain a little bit some of the basic features that you need to be addressing. But these are some of the attacks that you need to be aware of. What are all they doing? They're trying to grab data, and they're trying to violate CIA aspect of the data, because data is the value. Data is the currency, and you need to know that, and you need to understand these attacks can happen whether data in use or data in rest or data in transit. In any phase, this can happen. Okay, and then what is the primary objective of cybersecurity? And this is a fundamental thing, guys. A lot of people, I met a lot of people and say, okay, I want to have a cybersecurity art. What is the primary art? Is to reduce the business risk, right? The word that we are using here is called risk. Okay, when you're coming to cybersecurity world, let's say if you are an SME, let's say you are Hyderabad biryani house, right? And you are a Starbucks coffee shop, or you are a Coke manufacturer. What is your IP? Your IP is your formula for creating the dish. And your importance, you need to protect the IP at any cost. So what is your risk? Your risk is the major risk is anybody stealing that IP. That is your risk. So you need to define that risk. And once you define the business risk, then you can put in respect to controls and procedures to manage the risk. So first thing as an SME, what you need to understand here is what is your risk? What is your risk? What is the definition of risk? The potential loss or damage or destruction of an asset as a result of a threat. So what is a threat? I will give you a small example. Okay, a lot of times in US, a lot of my friends' houses, the house keys, they keep it under the floor mat. Because there's only 2 house keys and the 5 people in the house. They keep the house keys. So they basically opened up a vulnerability. They opened up a weak link. Okay, some guy watching you, they'll say, okay, this guy, always these people keep the house key under the flower pot, or they keep it on the top of the house. So that is a vulnerability, just like a software poorly written, right, has a bug in it that is called a vulnerability. A poorly written software, a poorly installed technology, right, or inadequate tested system, or somebody accidentally made him, that's a vulnerability. So imagine this key thing. I gave a very simple example, right? You know the house is need to be secure, but because of whatever the reason, you end up putting the key under the doormat. And one threat, what is a threat? Some servant maid is looking at you every day and say, oh, these guys are doing it, and he or she is angry, and he or she wants to get, worked at your place before, and he wants to get advantage. So one day he will exploit the vulnerability by going and taking the key, and then what happens? You will lose some you'll incur financial losses, right? So that is a very simplest example. In cyber world, we need to relate to that, right? You need to know first, as a SME, you need to understand what is your risk appetite. The word is risk appetite. What is your risk appetite? How much loss of business, how much loss of financials, reputation that you can afford, right? If you can define that, then you can define your controls or the defense in depth accordingly. So this is the number one mantra of cybersecurity. Primary objective is understanding what is your business risk and what is your acceptable level of the business risk in case there is a threat that exploiting some vulnerabilities in the system. Okay, and I'm not going to go through this. There are so many frameworks out there that will help you identify and remediate your risk. There is something called inherent risk and there is something called residual risk. Okay, again, this is big words for you, some of you, so I'm not going to go through this, but NIST cybersecurity framework, if you have time, Google it. I'm sure you will find a lot of information about it. Okay, there's so many career paths also in this. I'm not sure now the essence of this, and I'm going to wrap it up in 4 minutes or maybe 5 minutes maximum. Building, running, and managing healthy cybersecurity practices. The 3 focus areas, everybody, you need to know. First is people, technology, and process. Ideally, it's good to have a dedicated cybersecurity team. Ideally, I know you guys cannot afford it, some of you. If you could afford it, dedicated cybersecurity team, a team with a focus on cybersecurity management will be very important. So important from that is okay. Number 2, you need to have a competent talent. Okay, this is a very hard one in India and everywhere. We are not finding right people, and I do a lot of mentoring during my free time, and this is something getting faster. But this is an area that we need to look at, or you find a vendor who can provide you the competent resources. If you have people in your organization, please continue have them upskill on new technologies. Okay, and that is also an important. So people, a dedicated organization, competent talent, continue to upskill is an important aspect. And of course, awareness of employees is also something that comes here, but I will talk about it later. I think this is my last slide. Okay, one more slide is there. Centralized. So on the technology side, lot of small, medium companies where they are failing today because they don't have a centralized asset management database. Okay, they might have 500 servers, but they have no way to track them centrally, right? But that is one of the important piece. You need to know all your assets are, where they're sitting, and most importantly, the classification and categorization of these assets. Which one is red, green, and yellow? Red means if somebody really exploits this red asset, then I'm doomed. My risk is much higher. But if it is green, I'm okay. If somebody exploits a vulnerability there, I'm okay. Like let's say if you get an alarm from your living room versus an alarm from a locker in the bedroom, you know the locker in the bedroom alarm is much more serious, right? And you know how to respond to that differently, right? So you need to know what are all your assets, what are they classified. So as an organization, you should really find a way. There's so many open source softwares out there to install a CMDB that will basically track. And then you need to have a good endpoints. I know just antivirus alone cannot do it. Antivirus is when you download something, it will tell you. But if you want to monitor the traffic, ingress traffic and incoming, outgoing traffic, you want to monitor all that, you need to have a lot of additional endpoint tools to prevent data like protection. Okay, to prevent data leakage. There's so many tools out there. You can do a Google of it and you'll find. And you need to have a secure architecture. And I advocate cloud. If you can't have an application that you go to cloud. Have AWS, have Google, have Microsoft, do this for you, and you just pay for the architecture and then develop secure code. Previous mantra is just developing code, but this mantra here is developing secure code, security by design. Okay, and then vulnerability management. This is an important thing that you have to proactively check for existing vulnerabilities in the system. Processes, and this is little more technical, guys. Risk register. Your organization must have defined risk, business risk, defined IT risk, and defined processes, controls, procedures to manage the risk. So you must have something called risk register. Okay, and that basically gives you a scorecard of where your lead indicators are, where you are leaking, where you need to do more. You need to have a cyber cap, change advisory board for cyber changes, so that you have a complete view of if I want to buy a new antivirus or remove an old antivirus or get into cloud, no cloud, this team will decide it for you. You need to stay current with latest patches. Everybody has to keep their laptops, endpoints, mobiles up to date with the current patches, and you have to put that as a policy, as a process, and a procedure, as a best practice. Frequent pen testing. Like a lot of times there are so many red team testing and blue team testing. I think this has to be done frequently so that you know from outside point of view, how your entire environment is vulnerable to other people, and then fairly internal audits and yearly external audits. Very, very good practice. If you could do all these, guys, I'm telling you, guys and girls, I'm sure you can protect and you can have a very rock solid small and medium enterprise that will actually secure a lot more better security posture. So with that, just let me just briefly say about me. I'm an author of a book called Skill Up India. I've been recently, I mentor a lot of people in India on all the skills. I love to talk to more people. Thank you and good luck.
Mr. Vijay, thanks a lot. There is a question. I just want to know whether you can answer this. This is from Mr. Hari Pillai. Colonel Hari Prasad is from Vero Metals. He's a regular attendee of our webinar.
Sure.
He says that I wish cybersecurity can take some ideas from measures which Indian Army is taking to protect their wireless networks. Now that our future is fully dependent on digitally network environment, can we have a layered structure of introducing security?
Yes, absolutely. So defense in depth, sir. Jai Hind, sir. Good to get a question from you. So defense in depth is I think our network segmentation are the two new technologies I think really taking up, right? And private cloud. So all this, I think you have to look at how you are going to network segmentation between a DMZ, in a web server, an application server, and then an API and the database server, right, and the data storage. How are you going to segment it? Is it going to be subnet level, or do you have firewalls between them? If so, what ports are we going to use? How are you going to manage the traffic? Do you going to have VPNs between them? So network segmentation through NAS, right? NASC, network access control, is a new technology that is coming up. If someone by accidentally even plug in a new hardware that is not authorized, to connect to your network, it can report it to you, right? So it's important for you to understand that. So thanks for the question. Hopefully that will, I can answer a little more. I know in the interest of time, I'm not going a lot more details, but thank you. Hopefully that will answer, and please reach out to me, sir. Happy to answer you more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay. It was wonderful answering that question. And thank you, Colonel Hari, for asking that question. And we encourage everyone to ask any such questions, and please text on your the chat box here, or if you want to come on screen and ask a question, please raise your hand. There is a raise your hand icon on the right hand side top. So feel free to do that. So we encourage everyone to ask any such questions that you want to answer, and our speakers are more than happy to answer that. So thank you, Mr. Vijay, once again. So let's welcome our next speaker, Ms. Rajeshwari Bhattacharya. She's a co-founder and global head strategy business development partnership alliance at Persipia. She's passionate about helping businesses with technology solutions and process automation. She enjoys building partnerships, alumnus of INSEAD, and with around 3 decades of experience in financial services, insurance industry, media sector, and technology consulting. Certified from Harvard University on cybersecurity, various blockchain certification from Blockchain Council and Linux Foundation. Academically qualified in finance, cost accounting, and general management professional. Experience in organizing change management, people management, IT operations management, business process transformation, program management, and executing strategic initiatives in financial services, and media and entertainment verticals. So the topic what Ms. Rajeshwari will be presenting would be building and procuring a secure IT system. So building and procuring a secured IT system. So let's welcome Ms. Rajeshwari. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dojo, for that overwhelming introduction. It's my pleasure to be here, and I am pretty overwhelmed by the speech with Radhika had given, and also Mr. Vijay had spoken about. Pretty much in line with what they mentioned. Just let me know if you're able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Maybe in a minute. Second.
Just give me a heads up once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, sure. But it doesn't. We are not able to see that.
Yeah, it's
visible. All right.
Okay. Come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's come out.
Cool. So, Ms. Radhika spoke about aspects on the legislation and how India is still lagging behind. So, Vijay spoke about the aspects on data, information security, and yeah, coincidentally, I will be covering some aspects of defense in depth as well. So, let me just quickly jump on to this very interesting topic. The first aspect that I would like to cover is the data around the whole thing, right? It's always important to understand some history, some background, and some data supporting this situation so that we can understand the complexity of the situation and then digest the enormity, and then we can act and react. So let me put things in perspective. If you see this graph, there is a big deviation or rather gap between the developed world and the developing world in terms of adoption, the number of percentage of internet users. So the India story says that from a usage of around 300 odd million users in 2015, we went up to 342 in 2016, and then around 494, 500 in 2019. And we are expected to reach a 700 million internet user mark by 2025. So, from a 40% of Indian population who will be internet users, we would move to 70% in a span of 5 years. It is indeed a great deal, and obviously, because of the size of the population, we rank number two in terms of the number of users. It's next only to China, which has over 60% of its population, would be having 60% of its population as internet users. And following us would be US with 90% of, rather, there's a big gap in the numbers, but they would be having 90% of the population as internet users. It's very interesting to understand, especially within the Asian context, if you see that it has happened over the last few decades, starting somewhere around 1995. And by 1998, many Asian societies witnessed slow growth and gaining momentum by 2000. The snowball effect kind of became highly visible, and the diffusion of internet in Asia happened around 2002. If we may kind of give a timeline map to it. The contributors of this internet penetration have predominantly been the telecom infrastructure, obvious, and political freedom and stability, along with a positive correlation to GDP per capita and proportion of urban population and all. Anyway, we have vetoed that, and we have moved further with respect to not
I think, can you hear now? Rahil, can we call Mr. Aman while we help Rajeshwari?
Sure, Dojo.
Aman, I think Ms. Rajeshwari has a network issue. I think while we sort that, I will introduce you, and can you start the presentation now?
Sure, Dojo.
Just a minute. Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
Please give us some time, and while Ms. Rajeshwari sets a network, I will call on our next speaker, Mr. Aman Chikara. He is the CEO and CSO of Artistry Ninja, a digital security professional with over 13 years of experience in domains of network security, endpoint security, information security, and cybersecurity, with huge exposure in governance, risk and compliance, security architecture and solution design, development of enterprise security framework, and implementation of Security Council and their audits. Currently associated with Artistry Ninja Private Limited under the roles of Chief Operation Officer and CISO. Thank you, Mr. Aman. The topic that Mr. Aman is going to talk is about cybersecurity tips for allowing employees to work from home. It's a very important topic. So, welcome, Mr. Aman. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dojo, for these warming words. So, good evening, everyone. So, as we all know, like we have been talking of cybersecurity, and our panelists have already given you insight on terms of what the cybersecurity is and why it is important. So I'll touch base on the current landscape that we are dealing with and how an organization can protect their assets or their infrastructure. So let me just quickly share my screen with you. Okay. Do let me know if you are able to see my screen. Is it visible to everyone?
Aman, it is visible. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So this is the slide shows what has changed in last few. The things were changing, but with the COVID situation, things have changed drastically. So now, if you will still see the left-hand side, everything was protected within our premises. Like we had our well-protected environment where we have our own data center. Data was stored within the data centers. Employees was sitting within their premises, the office space. Everything was well protected by firewalls, IPS, IDS, and all different technologies. So everything was well protected so far. But now what has happened? While the cloud was being adopted by a lot of organizations in past, but with this COVID situation, things have totally drastically changed. Everything has moved out of this secure premise. Data has moved out on cloud. Applications are being accessed from across the world. People are working from offices, home, cyber cafes, public places, anywhere. So now we have lost the control that we earlier had when we had a complete controlled environment. Now, if you see, the data has been scattered across. Some data will be on your on-prem servers. Some data will be on your cloud application. People have adopted SaaS solutions. Then there are we are interacting with other, you can say peers, or you can say partners, or you can say support providers. We are sharing data with them who again have their own distributed environment. So now for any organization, if you'll see, it is very difficult to identify their digital footprint and to protect it, especially when those digital footprints are being accessed from across the world. So it is a totally distributed, you can say, scenario now. So it is really becoming difficult to find out the data points and to protect those data points with the required controls. So this is a drastic change we have seen. Now, let us see, this particular slide will tell you in terms of the threat landscape by numbers. If you see, after this COVID, Barracuda Networks shows, they did some research, and they shows that there is a significant spike, that is of 667% in case of emails that are containing phishing links. like Radhika did mention, what is a phishing email, where people will send you emails and they will try to gain credentials or some other confidential information from you. So it is a huge spike, if you can see, and that is just after the COVID situation. The emails are coming in form of, you can say, maybe related to COVID treatment, maybe related to vaccination information, maybe related to some other stuff. But yes, people, are targeting organizations with their phishing emails. Every day, thousands of websites are being registered. And if you see, 90% of those are the scammy websites. It means people are trying to lure you to get into their portal, feed your information. Once you land into their portal, they try to put malware on your system, and that's how they are trying to compromise your infrastructure. There is a spike of 72% in case of ransomware. Ransomware was discussed by Vijay and Radhika both. So we have seen a spike of 72% after this COVID situation, because people are vulnerable now. The systems have moved out. Now they are not well protected by the company corporate network. Now it is easy for an attacker to compromise these systems. So they have launched significant attacks across the world. So with that, now this is our topic. Like you are only strong as your weakest link, and this is a chain that Jojo was talking of initially. Like we have different blocks in a chain, but what if one single block is weak? If you just stretch this chain, it will break from that weakest link, and that is actually the strength. That is what you can afford. So here we need to find out these weakest link and fix them, or you can say make them strong, so that we get full strength. And what are the two major weakest link in today's scenario? One is our endpoint and one is our employees, or you can say user base. So human, which is already every time, so everyone is talking of like human is the weakest link in the security chain. But now endpoint is also into that bucket, because now they are not well protected, they are out, and it is easy to compromise them the way it is easy to compromise human factor. So these two are the weakest link. So I'll try to cover both these aspects, but yes, other than these two weakest link, there are a few other things which are very much important for our organizations. And the way we have all our SME folks on the session right now, it is of prime importance that we'll try to give you the maximum that we can give. And I would apologize if you find anywhere there are technical jargons, or if you see there are some things which you are not able to understand. Because just before this session, when I was talking to Dojo, I came to know like there may be few folks which are not at the technical level, which can understand the technology in depth. And for them, what I did is it was not easy. I didn't have time to change the complete PPT, but I have given my contact details at the end of the session. You can reach out to me wherever you need any sort of a clarity, because if I'll not be able to provide you the required information, if I'll not be able to give you the required knowledge that you need, then this session is of no use. So my objective is not to run this show, but to leverage whatever my experience and share it with you, so that you get a benefit out of it. And then you can reach out to me with those contact details. Now, organizations will ask, how can I secure? Like you mentioned, yes, infrastructure has changed, the scenario has changed, users have moved out, we see the weakest link. But how can I secure? Is there something that I can do? Yes, certainly, but it's not one single silver bullet. You can't cover all the different risks with one control. It has to be the way Vijay was mentioning or answering the other question. It has to be a layered approach. Defense in depth, where you put controls at different levels and you mitigate the controls risk at different level, and that's how you move forward. So though there are other security domains, but I am in this session keeping time into consideration, I have just focused on 5 domains, and I have restricted myself to 5 action under each domain. So we'll go one by one. Endpoint, the one of the weakest link. What you can do with your endpoint. Now, if you see, when the endpoints were in your premises, you were regularly doing their AV patching, you were regularly doing their OS patching, you were monitoring their software usage, everything was well controlled. But now when people have moved out, we are not able to leverage or we are not able to manage them properly. At times now we have seen organizations, they are allowing their users to use their own devices. Those are not the corporate devices. We cannot have those controls which we had on our corporate devices anymore for those user specific devices. So what are the primary factors here? How we can ensure the security is maintained on the endpoint? One is AV update. Ensure that your endpoints, whether it's the user system, the personal system, or it's a corporate system, it should have antivirus. It should remain updated with the definitions. If we cannot do it from our own corporate solution, because if it's a user system, user will have its own antivirus. It's not a corporate antivirus. We cannot patch it, but we need to ensure we have a policy. We enforce the user to do it. And if it's a corporate device, then we should expose our AV infrastructure where the machines, even if they are out of our network, they can connect back to our AV server and get the required updates. Similarly, the OS and the software patching. Operating system, every second Tuesday, Microsoft is releasing software patches. Similarly, the other software vendors are coming up with their patching depending on their vulnerabilities. So we need to be on our toes and we need to ensure our endpoints are well patched, because if their systems are not patched, there is a vulnerability residing on the system that can be exposed and that can be exploited by the attackers, and you lose everything. Device hardening. We cannot do it for user-specific devices, but for corporate devices, harden them. Hardening means you take the required configuration on the system, like it may be related to browser, what settings a user can change in the browser, what setting a user can change on the OS, like restricting of USB access and all those kind of things. You do a required hardening, you save your endpoints, and then you hand it over to the users for their usage. Admin rights, restrict the admin rights. The normal user need not to have admin rights. Only the IT folks should have the admin rights on the endpoint, not the normal user. If you provide extra rights to the user, and if the system gets compromised, the attacker will leverage these admin rights and they will exploit your network or the endpoint or the data residing on it. So restrict that. Then we need to have some sort of a solution for mobile devices. It may be a corporate devices, or if the person is coming with their own devices, the mobile phone or the tablets or their personal devices, you should, organization should have a technology through which they can onboard them, enroll them, and enforce the security policies on them. So EMM and MDM are two such things, like mobile device management or enterprise mobility management solution. So those are some things which can protect your endpoints. Human factor, the second weakest link that we discussed in the previous slide. Security awareness is the most important thing. Normally, organizations do provide security awareness only at the time of onboarding of a user, but no, that is not sufficient enough. You should have a regular awareness sessions for the user, depending on specific topics or going through a general awareness. They have to be educated regularly. The organization should have a proper awareness program. They can use simulation exercises, they can use e-learning modules, they can have physical classes, they can send you can say emailers. There are different forms of serving information, so you need to have a mix of all those. One thing will not work, and we have to do it regularly to ensure our users remain updated. Strict password policy enforcement. Users will not be so much serious or focused about the security. It is our organization you can say a responsibility that we need to enforce the policy on them. It may be related to what kind of a password they can set or when they can change it and all other associated you can say configurations. We need to enforce the password policy for them. Secure browsing. Now earlier, when the users were in the premises, the complete traffic was going through a proxy solution, which was doing a categorization blocking, or if there is any malware, it was scanning the web traffic. But now when the user is out of the premise, we no longer have that kind of a control. So what can we do? We need to ensure that whatever the browsing that they're doing on the corporate asset outside or on their personal devices, how can we provide it securely? So there, one thing that comes in is the web proxy solution. The way you have web organization thing. Similarly, you need to have a web proxy, a cloud-based proxy that can give you the similar kind of a protection or even better when even for the users which are outside. Similarly, on the messaging side, the phishing that people were talking of earlier, or the panelists, you need to have an advanced filtering solution. The normal email gateways are not good enough. Nowadays, technologies has embraced where they can sit on the mailbox level and then they can you can protect their information. So you should have a secure messaging solution which will protect the users, and even if they are outside. Enforce MFA, multi-factor authentication. Like when they're accessing your emails, when they're accessing your applications, when they're accessing your other network infrastructure, maybe over a VPN or some other way, you should try to enforce your two-factor authentication wherever it's possible. So that ensure that it's the right user who is coming up. If there is a credential which has been compromised, still it will give you a protection in those situations. So try to get that. Third is around connectivity and access. So here we talk of how we can allow a user to securely connect to our infrastructure and what they can access. So here the factors are, one is ensure that you educate your user that they don't use unsecured Wi-Fi. It may be like a public Wi-Fi, or it may be their personal Wi-Fi, which is not well protected. So try to ensure that user don't connect to these unsecured Wi-Fi networks. Second is, just give me 1 minute here. I guess my son is here, so just give me. So second is around company provided VPN access. So when we are allowing a user to access company network from outside, we need to ensure that they connect to corporate provided VPN access. We don't expose our infrastructure directly on the network, on the internet. So provide them the secure access mechanism of secure access. Corporate and personal asset. Identify how they are accessing it, whether it's they're coming from corporate net asset, or they're coming from a personal asset. We can have a different level of filtering, different level of control on both the type of assets, but it is important to identify those assets and then enforce the controls based on that. NAC, which I was talking of, NAC. So this is a network access control. This kind of a technology allows, like, let's say your user has been out of premise for 3 months, 4 months, and now they are coming back on the network. Their assets are not secure. It's not patched properly. Their AV definitions might be outdated. So a health check needs to be done for any sort of an asset which is connecting to your network. It may be through Wi-Fi, it may be through physical network, it may be through VPN, anywhere. If there is a new or unknown device getting connected to your network, organization should be able to identify that so that they can protect it and they can put it in a quarantine segment, let them fix their vulnerabilities or fix their gaps, and then allow them to come on the network and access the required things. Provide them role-based access. Role-based access is like, you need to identify what is the role of a user in an organization, what all assets or information he should be able to access. And then you need to grant access just based on that. Like if there is a finance folder, only the finance department should have access to it, not the IT. If there is something which is required for salespeople, or if there is a portal, only the required access needs to be provided to the concerned team. Even when we are talking of IT administrators, we should only allow limited access to them. Normally, give them the read-only access. Whenever they need to make some configuration changes or do administrative-related stuff, then give them the privilege access. Try to restrict, define the different roles, and give them the role-based access. So this is like if the specific ID get compromised, you have a limited risk exposure. Data security. So here we talk of the data. It is like we understand data is across our organization. It is on the user endpoint. It is on the servers. It's on the storage. It's on the cloud. It's within the application, on the database, everywhere. So we need to be focused on the data. What sort of a data we have? What sort of a data we are processing? The classification and the kind of a control we need to provide to that data. See, when we are doing a classification, the restricted access will have stringent controls. Public access will have a lenient controls. Internal access will have some sort of a moderate control. So the classification defines what sort of a control you need to implement on your data. So you should focus on the data based on the classification and then apply the controls. Ensure that because right now when people are scattered across the world, they are working from home, from corporate office, you use your corporate OneDrive or Teams or SharePoint for the collaboration. Don't use any external tools. Try to go with these kind of a corporate solutions where you have full control and you can implement the solution and you can do the required governance. Get some sort of a DLP or IRM related or CASB related controls so that you can protect the data which like CASB is primarily for your cloud-based, like if you have opted for Salesforce, if you have opted for Office 365, or if you have gone for some other cloud SaaS solution, then that's where a CASB solution can give you a lot of controls. Similarly, IRM or DLP technologies, they can identify the kind of a classification your data has and the kind of a rules you should have for it, and then they can protect the information even if that data is flowing out of your premises. Even if you have shared it with some partners, I can have a control, like if I shared a file with you, you will be able to read that file, you will not be able to print it, or you will not be able to modify it. You will I can define that file will be available to you only for next 1 day or 5 days. After that it will get destroyed. So I can have different type of controls, and now these type of controls, even if the data moves out, I can still protect it. Device or you can say either you should have an encryption which is based on the device, like full drive encryption, or you can have file or folder based encryption, because these encryption controls helps you out in case if you lose out your asset, or if someone gets into your system, try to read the files or the folders. If they're encrypted, that saves your information. Data backup, which is very, very, very important these days. It is not only for you can say disastrous thing, like disaster can be any type. You may land in a situation where your server get crashed, or there may be a ransomware. Ransomware has encrypted your disk or the data. Now you're gone. What will you do? Either you will pay the ransom to them, or it's better if you have a backup, just restore the backup and you are good to go. So backup is very important, and it is for you need to identify the critical data and then ensure it may be a user data, it may be your corporate data, it may be application data, it may be your configuration of the devices. You need to have a required data backup procedures and the cycles, like how at this point of time you will take full backup, at this point of time you will take incremental backup, and that's how what will be the retention of it. That's how you need to define it. Data flow analysis, which is very much important. You will receive some data from anywhere, then you will store it somewhere, you will process it for some requirement, then you will share it with someone else, and after the thing is, the requirement is fulfilled, you will destroy that data. Now, if you see this complete cycle, there are different points. You need to identify all these points. That is what the data flow analysis is. You need to identify how you are collecting data, from whom you are collecting data, then where this data is going, then what are you doing with it. And at each and every point, you need to define the control that should be there. So that is very much important. Have that kind of a visibility, and then you will be able to secure your data. Governance and breach readiness, a most important piece. No organization, no network can claim that they are 100% secure. Organizations can get breached anytime. So we need to be ready for that state. That's what we call, like we should be ready to deal with the worst of the situation. So if there is we should assume that we are already breached. Now what we need to do? We have to be that kind of a readiness with us. And we need to have a governance which will prevent you to land into that situation. So you should have both kind of things. Governance is to protect it, but breach readiness is if you land into that situation, then how you will respond. You should have all required InfoSec policies, the business continuity plan. You should have it in place, get it updated. Now the situation is people have moved out of your premises. They have moved out. Now the old policies might not cover this part, but now you need to cover this. You need to update your InfoSec policies and business continuity plan according to the changed scenario. Otherwise, you will, fail on the compliance side as well. So update regularly, identify the risk, and keep updating your InfoSec policies and their continuity plans. Regular compliance and governance, be it related to your assets, be it related to your application, be it related to whatever you are doing, you need to have a required governance in place so that you ensure the controls you have implemented are working in a desired manner and there are no further risks spilling out of that. Try to adopt zero trust architecture, where you don't trust even your employee or even your corporate asset. You don't trust anyone. Whenever some access request comes in, you need to ensure that you fully scan it, you analyze it properly, and then you give the required access. So that is what a zero trust is. It's no longer a time that people used to think like, okay, my internal zone is a trusted zone, but my external or intranet is somewhat still protected, and then there is a complete expose on the internet side. No, now we can't even trust our own internal network. We should adopt the zero trust architecture. Have well-defined IR processes. Like what will happen if there is a security incident? How you will need to, organization will respond to it? What will be the role of different teams? What will be the role of the user? Who will lead that complete initiative? When the senior management will be informed? When the regulator will be informed? When we need to call the external party for help? So everything has to be well defined in the IR process, so that if you land into the worst situation, you are well prepared and you follow the drill and you go through it smoothly. Identify what's going on in your network using SIEM or Yuga-based technologies or anomaly detection. These can help you out. Like these are the ways of where you pull the logs from different sources, firewall, proxy, IDS, IPS, other places. You pull those logs, you do correlation on those logs or the events. You identify some sort of anomaly, and then you raise a flag and you get it analyzed by your team. So that is what is required to ensure what going in your environment is under your eye. If there is any sort of a anomaly which requires attention, go with the IR process and hit on that right there. So that is pretty much from my side. And if you find that there are any technical jargons, or if you are not able to identify any particular aspect, or if you still require more help, as I mentioned, security is still beyond it. It is just a part of it. Security is such a vast area. There are a lot of different domains. You have to manage each and every domain. You just can't have focus on one side and keep ignoring the other side. No, you can't do that. So this is what is a basic that organization should do. But if you need more, you can reach out to me on these things, any of these media, and I'll try to share whatever I can with my personal experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aman, for that very interesting and informative session. So we'd like to invite Ms. Rajeshwari again. She had a technical issue, and I think it's back. So please continue, ma'am.
Apologies for that. And I'm just.
It's okay. It's happened.
Give me a heads up once you're able to see my screen.
Sure.
Are you able to see the enterprise?
Yes. We can see the screen, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So I have just decoded the defense in depth to kind of, in a battlefield, in a fort scenario. So it is right to compare the cyber war to a battlefield and an enterprise structure to the that you're trying to guard. So overarching all this is the overall policy, procedure, and the awareness. It's like the plan to structuring the fort in itself, the contents that you use to build the fort, and the unity amongst people manning it. So it's more a analogy with how you protect your own kingdom. And coming next to the policies, procedures, and awareness would be the physical component. That is, how strong is your access control. How good is your training to the receptionist sitting at the desk who's manning, who's allowing calls, who's sharing information? Can the person be socially engineered to divulge information that they are not supposed to do it? So all those aspects come up. So it's much beyond where is your data center, how is it being monitored, and what's the security aspect allied to it. And then comes the perimeter. So a perimeter for me is like the ditch or the moat you see around the fort. So how do you validate and allow anybody into your network? So this is about the firewall. Who can access what, when, how the network, and it's a defensive trench, that prevents attackers from being able to easily access and attack and away information, cause disruption, and whatever they wanted to do. Now, typically in your structure, it would be the firewall, the IDPS that you would put in place. And then comes the internal network, wherein Mr. Vijay also spoke about it. I compare it to the gallery in the fort. It allows movement of people inside the fort, but yet there is restriction based on where one ought to be, where one cannot be. And in an enterprise structure too, it is important to have these distinctions through various means, including subnets, workspaces, that while you allow movement, it is restricted across to the extent to which it is needed. And we cannot forget the insider element that was also articulated by Mr. Aman. And we need to be extremely careful. We need to follow zero trust policy in terms of assigning rights. And the host, which is any hardware that has the capability of permitting access to a network via a user interface. So that would be the next aspect. And data, as Mr. Vijay was rightfully pointing out, is the treasure that you're trying to guard. So the various security mechanisms that you can adopt, including encryption, salting, zero knowledge proof, all things that go around it. So that is in a nutshell on the enterprise structure that I wanted to share. And a brief on the function of information security. So again, from on one side you have the governance and compliance, which is extremely, which kind of overrides everything. And it does not entail just the IT aspect of it. There's a lot to do with the psychological, physical, and various other aspects that go into it. So an effective information security management is, it encompasses all the organizational and operational processes. And all participants and functions should be equally involved, including, it is as good a HR initiative as it is a technology initiative. It is equally important for the procurement function to be involved in managing this. So at the core is the policy of the organization, and this includes, whether you allow them to work from home or bring your own device, and all things around those aspects, to basically, building business resilience. As Mr. Vijay was saying, what is your risk appetite? How resilient are you? How much can you compromise? How much is your capacity to come back? And how fast can you come back? What's the damage to the stakeholders? So all things around those areas kind of build up your aspect around the information framework. Then, broadly, I'm just touching upon each of them. The training and awareness, which cannot be undermined at all. A large aspect of information security goes into training and awareness. 90% of the hacks start from phishing mails. So how aware are your team to kind of counter, to kind of understand what a phishing mail is, or to understand when a social engineering is being meted out to them, and able to react, and also able to come back to your security personnel who's manning it, so that the effective measures can be taken. So all these things go into building up the framework, and anything that gets measured is what would effectively get implemented. I believe in that. And that typically comes to the topmost of this, which is the security metrics and reporting. So you should periodically, as again quoting what Mr. Vijay said, periodically have audits, measures to say how much is your security preparedness, information security, vulnerabilities, and all things around on various metrics and parameters. You should measure yourself. That's on this. And then coming to the aspect of building and procuring your own systems, the preparation would include broadly understanding what your business needs are. What's your growth plan? How do you plan to scale? So while technology is, there is technological obsolescence, let's also understand that at various stages of your organization, you will require a different landscape. So it's important to understand where you are and where you want to go before you define your technology landscape. And from the perspective of technology itself, I think it's been changing pretty fast. We all know that, and believe me, it's not going to be this slow in the future. So again, going back to what Mr. Vijay said, I think it's I too am a very strong propagator of cloud, especially for the small enterprises, because how can you absorb the technological obsolescence? Are you going to invest in resources only to maintain the technology backbone for your business, or are you going to invest your resources to run your core operations? So that's the challenge. And cloud for me is also largely an economic decision as much as it is a technological decision. So it's I'm a high propagator of cloud, and there comes the point of upskilling your resources. How are you going to upskill, and how are you going to absorb the maintenance costs? So it's important to adopt the right cloud technology to make sure that you are in the right technology platform as you expand, so that you do not lose the race in the business owing to technological considerations. So that's on the broad I would say preparation for your setup that I would recommend. Then comes the basic considerations itself. Again, at the center is data, as Mr. Vijay said. Data at rest, in transit, usage is what value does it have to the hacker? We need to understand that, and what is the benefit of causing a disruption to operations and services, and the possibility of a collateral damage. Let's not forget that a lot of the hacks, case in point is Maersk, the biggest hack that ever happened, the cyber attack that ever happened, was a collateral damage after all. So let's understand that you could be part of a collateral damage. So keeping this as the core, the data, the collateral damage, the services disruption, and all of that, you need to build up an IT setup that should revolve around one mindset, that is, security is an integral part rather than an afterthought. And it has to be an unbiased assessment of your business needs, and take the approach to finalize your landscape, whether it's going to be on-premise, on-cloud, or a combination, and ensure that there is, you have to ensure that there are best of encryption frameworks, data center facilities, access control requirements, and relevant security certifications, whether you are on cloud or on-premise. And needless to say, the audits and the certification standards are in place, and it has to be periodic. Another thing is the data center facilities should be dispersed geographically to mitigate risks of, say a natural calamity, or some geopolitical situation. And these are all aspects that you really need to take into consideration. Plus the human element, as the zero trust aspect, whether there can be an insider attack, what is the motive, how do you mitigate yourself, how do you mediate. And a lot of these attacks are successful only because you're not well planned and well rehearsed. You lose out because when you are under attack, you are still figuring out how to come back. You should be able to, you should be able to, you should have well rehearsed this earlier on so that you're able to execute that as a routine when you are under attack. So these are some aspects that kind of, go into building a very resilient and a very cyber secure framework, IT systems. Now, as regards the ongoing aspect, I would touch upon the NIST cybersecurity framework broadly on keep doing this at a periodic framework, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So broadly, these are aspects that are very, very critical from post post procuring, post building your IT systems. It's extremely important that you keep doing this repetitively and make sure that you are that you're not caught napping. It's not that it's a one-time act and then you're done with it. It has to be regularly audited, regularly tested, regularly rehearsed, and your team has to be aware of who has to do what at what point of time, if at all you come under attack. So these are broad aspects that I wanted to touch upon. And I believe that experience is the best teacher for anything in life. And so I just wanted to touch upon certain major hacks and draw out some inference or some learning from those. The Maersk ransomware attack in 2017, which put the entire company at stake. It was 7,000 servers and 49,000 PCs all going down in 7 minutes. It just showed that you should be prepared for collateral damage. However secure you are, it cannot be zero. You cannot guarantee that you will never be under attack. So, be prepared for an attack. In an eventuality, you know what is to be done. So, you may be secure, there may not be any objective, you may not be holding any information, or there may not be any other motive, but there can be a collateral damage. That's one thing. So it's a hygiene element. Cybersecurity is hygiene. Then on the Yahoo data leak, which happened in 2014, that case actually brings to light the aspect of being prompt in reporting to authorities. It's not just about you. It's not just about the reputation of your organization. You would be bringing to, you would be really helping a lot more of the other enterprises by reporting it promptly. And in Yahoo, it kind of, it was not just about them, it's not just about helping others. It also brought down their valuation. It brought down a lot of disrepute, and it kind of marred their image badly. So let's understand that it's important to discover and have a good reporting mechanism. And on the Target data breach 2013, it essentially happened not because of just the IT system. There was a HVAC system and the IoT integration that kind of one led to the other. So when you go into integrating systems, when you go into multiple systems across the landscape, be very sure to augment your cybersecurity element so that there is no vulnerability or breach on account of these kind of integration aspects. So those are certain pointers that I learn out of these experiences of other companies, and I thought I could share with you all. So that's in a nutshell. I kept it short because we had already crossed the time limit, I think. Right, Dojo? Hello?
Thank you, Rajshri. Thank you. How the presentation all went well. Thank you. I think we have slightly overshot time, and being a good topic, I think it is also interesting for everyone to listen. Sure. Thank you very much, and hope this has been a very insightful session that we had. So actually, we have published our the November issue of a magazine, Small Enterprise, It's also on the same cover story on cybersecurity. So we will be definitely giving out this copy to everyone who was registered for this event. So there are a lot of people who came and went in between, and normally towards the end, people just slightly become a bit, unrest to get out to their routine work or whatever it is. So thank you very much, everyone, Ms. Radhika Verma and Rajeshwari, Mr. Raman and Mr. Vijay. Thank you for spending your time with the small enterprise. We also will invite you to write columns on cybersecurity in our magazine, which is having a phenomenal reach. The magazine, as I mentioned in my presentation, is definitely going through the Geo News and a lot of other channels. So once again, thank you to everyone, all the attendees, and also the speakers and our partners, Wadhwani Foundation and everyone. So we'll just keep you informed about the next webinar that we are going to talk on a different subject. And thank you, and have a